know you are crying," he said, while still inside me. "Is it about the promotion?" I did not answer, simply gazed at the ceiling tile above his shoulder, the one stained yellow, like someone had tried to erase guilt from the plaster. He did not wait, slid off, zipped up, and instinctively reached for his smartwatch, snapping back to business. The cold from the hotel room air finally brushed my skin, which brought some relief along with the silence after the door clicked shut behind him. I looked at the pillow he had used, creased and hollowed in the center like his apology. That morning, you know how tough these budget cycles are? I had built his budget, optimized it, and pieced it together from scraps they called legacy code until the whole thing ran smoother than his Tesla with 6 years, 43 deployed modules, 3 exhausting pivots, and 1 personal NDA I never signed because he told me it was just a formality. And today, when I asked for a raise, he laughed, literally laughed, fastening his fly. "Come on, Maya. You are essential. We all know that, but races are a discussion for bigger picture thinkers," he said. He left lipstick on my cheek when he said that, his wife's, something I did not wipe off. Instead, I opened the minibar and took the one bottle I promised myself never to touch again. The code was still mine, the architecture, the framework they showed off at every investor presentation was built from the 3 sleepless weeks I spent surviving on granola bars and whiteboard markers in a rented basement apartment. The place smelled like mold and the excitement of a startup. Dreams that didn't belong to them, but someone else might have wanted, especially the company across the street. Particularly since I still had the original development environment and the patent. Now, that is where the story becomes intriguing. The patent was tucked away in a dusty folder on a hard drive named Old Junk/Do Not Delete. Seriously. I nearly didn't open it, worried it might fall apart if I handled it wrong. Like a memento from a version of myself that still believed in long nights, shared recognition, and tech bros who said, "We're a family here." But there it was. U.S. patent number 10 million something, filed by Maya Davis, titled Method for Dynamic Predictive Load Distribution in Synchronous Modular Environments. Their ultimate achievement, my Frankenstein, and the signature, was not from the company or the CTO, but just mine because I submitted it individually after a back-end summit in 2019. At that event, their senior architect passed out drunk in a beanbag chair and remarked no one would bother filing anything until the 3rd quarter since legal becomes a graveyard. I remember nodding and smiling, then going home and spending my entire Sunday on the USPTO website, while his hangover turned into a team-wide Slack rant about toxic sprint velocities. They never even noticed. I kept that secret for years, not out of strategy, but simply because I forgot about it. Life took over with burnout, gaslighting and quarterly reviews, and a short-lived, foolish almost engagement to a DevSecOps guy who once asked me, if I needed assistance grasping TLS certificates, I had already crafted half of the encryption component. Now, with that signature hanging like a silent guillotine, the question was no longer whether I would use it, but rather how I would spend the next 4 days quietly reconstructing the prototype inside a private container on a borrowed AWS account, under a name that would not trigger their sneaky security software. I routed through a VPN based in Iceland and renamed my laptop's hostname to HP DeskJet. Every time I received a Slack message from the CTO with a thumbs up emoji or a forwarded article titled Top Women in Tech Who Know Their Place, my fingers worked even faster. By Thursday, I had a functional MPV, and by Friday, secured a meeting with Artemis Systems. By Monday, I was no longer Maya Davis, Senior Integration Specialist. Instead, I had become Maya Davis, primary patent holder and sole licenser. Artemis was very, very intrigued. Artemis Systems did not hesitate. Their vice president of engineering, a woman named Lena with icy blonde hair and no patience for small talk, examined the patent number, raised one eyebrow, and said, "This is authentic." I slid the flash drive across the glass table as if it was radioactive. Not just authentic, I replied. Still in use after 6 years. They built their entire cloud orchestration around it. Lena's expression was not impressed, but rather intrigued. The original filing was mine, including proof of authorship, timestamped source code, DevOps logs, and the initial Git commit chain. She leaned back and tapped. A stylus resting on her lips, I said, "You realize this will ignite a conflict they have already begun." They simply laughed, too loud to catch the first shot fired. She smiled with a touch of irony. Within 10 minutes, we were signing non-disclosure agreements that could have stifled a moose. By the second hour, I found a licensing deal proposal waiting in my inbox. By the fourth hour, the legal team flagged a dozen cases of copyright infringement in the public records of my former employer's development blog. But that was not the exciting part. The thrilling moment arrived that evening when I silently uploaded version 2.1 of the engine, thoroughly refined and equipped with 3 new features Artemis had been eager to unlock for 2 fiscal years. No open source, no credits, completely proprietary, entirely mine, and now theirs as well. The following morning, I sent a formal licensing notification to my previous company titled Licensing Violation and Intellectual Property Infringement Review Action Required. The CTO probably did not open it until his oat milk cortado had gone cold. But when he finally opened it, I wager he nearly spat it all over the product team. The attachment was a high-resolution PDF containing a cover letter signed by me, Maya Davis, patent holder. Beneath that was Artemis's caution. You are currently using production software infringing on intellectual property rights. Please respond within 48 hours to discuss licensing terms. Failure to comply will lead to legal proceedings and platform-wide removal notices. I did not hear the scream, yet I could feel its impact deeply. Within the next hour, my old Slack access was disabled, my calendar erased, and my work email locked out. Yet my phone exploded with notifications as if it were a Christmas tree caught in a storm of chaos. The messages read, "Call me now, Maya, we need to talk," and "Did you send this? Please tell me you did not send this." I knew emotions were running high, but I urged calm thinking. Then, from the CTO himself came a brutal message. "You vindictive little brat, you have no idea what you've done." But I knew exactly, as I had finally drafted my resignation letter using formal legal language they called a misunderstanding email from their lawyer. It began with, "We believe there has been some confusion regarding the ownership of this code base." Confusion? Was that how they explained 6 years of unpaid overtime and gaslighting performance reviews? I chose not to reply, but Artemis did. Their answer included a 14-page attachment containing API call records, Jenkins pipeline histories, and a forensic timeline that proved when my code went live, along with who tried to claim credit 6 weeks later. Then Artemis's legal VP hit back hard. She pointed out that the CTO's LinkedIn bio credits his dynamic load balancer project to Maya Davis as the sole inventor. How could a man with 0 contributions claim ownership of a patented process? Silence was followed by uproar, wild and desperate. One of their senior engineers leaked a confidential internal memo to me via Proton Mail. It was supposed to stay secret, yet its subject line revealed everything. Crisis Protocol DESI Fallout, highlights included. Deactivate all blog posts mentioning the Engine Core version 1 as part of an internal intellectual property cleanup. Slack conversations from 2019 and 2020 concerning code ownership have been removed. The decision to cancel the Chief Technology Officer's panel and cancel her appearance at DevCon was deemed too risky. Eagle is investigating an emergency countersuit, but the confidence level remains low. She does possess evidence, though. The last line, yes, I printed it, framed it, and placed it above my coffee machine, she said. That moment marked the real beginning of the game. A recruiter she barely recalled messaging in 2021 suddenly got in touch. Hey Maya, hope you are doing well. We have an urgent principal engineer position, followed by inquiries from 3 venture capital firms interested in spinning out a startup. Shortly after, an anonymous tip was sent to 3 technology blogs revealing an intellectual property conflict brewing inside one of Silicon Valley's most highly valued startups. Guess who leaked it? Here is a clue. She drinks espresso as if it were fuel for war and ends her emails with the initials VP Artemis. 2 days later, the headline ran on TechShovel. Startup favorite accused of IP theft by a former female engineer. Is it time to change the story? There was a split image showing me in a hoodie holding a whiteboard marker beside the chief technology officer delivering a keynote in front of my diagram featuring my arrows, my shorthand, and even my amusing typo where balancer was spelled as blancer. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I prefer mine piping hot, poured over a quarterly earnings call, which coincidentally was scheduled for the following Monday. By then, I had just gained access to something extremely entertaining, their internal performance dashboard. Retention rates were not the only metrics about to dive. On Monday at 8:59 in the morning, I had 3 screens glowing intensely like a command center, with 2 espresso shots ready like ammunition, and my cat perched confidently beside me as if it sensed what was unfolding. Their second quarter earnings call was scheduled for 9 o'clock sharp, streamed live to the public, shareholders, journalists, and most intriguingly, former employees nursing grudges. The CEO's voice emerged first, artificially upbeat and coated with corporate polish. Good morning, everyone. We are thrilled to present another quarter filled with innovation and strategic growth. I muted the sound. I was not interested in platitudes. My attention was on the system dashboard. Over the weekend, a former junior colleague, one who had been let go during their cultural overhaul, secretly provided me access to their network. It was still not isolated from the outside world, and I had root access to their development telemetry server. I did not need to intervene. I simply observed as Artemis activated the system that morning. My engine, version 2.1, was now operational on their competitor's infrastructure. A full deployment with the same framework, improved efficiency, no license breaches involved. Meanwhile, my ex-company was streaming their earnings call live as their back-end infrastructure began to fail in real time. API response times doubled, then escalated to triple. Login attempts started to fail massively, and their analytics dashboard, the very one I had developed, flashed alarming red signals. Finally, the CTO's voice came through the broadcast, tight and hurried. We are experiencing temporary disruptions due to unanticipated traffic spikes. Our teams were handling the situation when suddenly it happened. One of their biggest clients, a massive Fortune 100 company, switched platforms overnight to Artemis, to my engine. The twist was that client tweeted at 9:14 in the morning, expressing excitement about working with Artemis systems. They praised lower latency, enhanced security, smoother integration, and gave a shout-out to clean code with a winking face. The tweet quickly gained traction. Developers started sharing screenshots, benchmarks, and comparisons. It became a free-for-all. One user commented, "Doesn't this code look familiar?" Pretty sure Maya Davis showcased this at ByteHack in 2019. Suddenly, my LinkedIn exploded with connection requests, job offers, articles, and tags calling me the woman who built the machine and set the castle on fire. The best part was when someone, maybe a bit too energized, leaked an internal Slack conversation. In it, the CTO angrily typed, "Who approved her patent? Why was this overlooked? Who submitted it?" Their legal head replied with just one line, "You told us not to waste time on her." Mic drop. By 10:12, their stock had dropped 11%. At 10:48, trading was frozen and halted. By noon, they were trending with hashtags like stolen code, startup theft, and me. Meanwhile, I sat in a cafe downtown, sipping burnt diner coffee with Lena from Artemis, watching the drama unfold on an iPad. She was silent for a while, chewing on a pen cap and squinting at the mess. Then she looked at me and said, "You know they will come after you." I smiled. They already had, and now it was my move. By Tuesday, the CEO attempted to portray themselves as a victim. They appeared on CNBC trying to control the narrative, nervously dressed in a blazer that did not quite fit, using phrases such as miscommunication and legacy contributor. My favorite part was when they said, "We deeply value our engineers past and present." Meanwhile, their legal team sent Artemis a cease and desist letter as if they had not spent 6 years secretly taking credit for my work to secure their cushy exits. Artemis responded by sending a carefully organized folder to their inbox titled Compliance Receipts, which contained a notarized copy of the original patent application, 3 signed statements from former engineers confirming that I was the author of the engine, screenshots of JIRA tickets bearing my name on every major advancement, and a recorded Zoom call with a timestamp and transcript where the CTO admitted, "This is not about credit, Maya, it is about teamwork." I submitted that evidence myself. They never replied publicly or in legal terms, but quietly they began removing content. Entire blog posts disappeared, a white paper from their 2021 developer conference presentation was taken down, and a podcast featuring the CTO boasting about his signature load balancer was mysteriously replaced with an outdated version 4004. Then came the first real sign of trouble. One of their senior developers resigned publicly on LinkedIn. He stated, "As someone who witnessed Maya carry this project through hell and manipulation, I can no longer pretend I am staying." Suddenly, the dominoes started to topple. 4 resignations occurred within that week. Investors started demanding answers, and the board finally took action late on Thursday. At night, it felt as if someone inside was alive with turmoil. That very same exhausted HR analyst who once muttered, "I'm so sorry" to me after every missed promotion sent me the single screenshot I had dreamed about for years. The email subject read, "Immediate termination, CTO reason, gross negligence, reputational damage, failure to disclose the patent conflicts." It was done. He was fired. I read it 5 times, and for the first time in 6 years, I breathed out calmly, without trembling. Yet, I was not finished. Because karma is playful, but design is sacred, I printed the email, rolled it up, placed it inside a gift box, and the following morning stood outside his former office, with a courier envelope addressed to him. Inside, I enclosed the termination email thread, a printed screenshot of his "We are family here" Slack message, and a lone USB stick marked "Sharpie, you should have given me the raise." I saw the receptionist buzz him out from behind glass. He appeared older, with sagging cheeks and weary eyes, scanning the lobby like a man witnessing his kingdom crumble piece by piece, function by stolen function. He opened the envelope, read it, paused, then noticed me standing quietly there, arms folded, neither smiling nor angry, simply done. He mouthed something inaudible, but no words were needed. Some endings demand no sound, only a witness. The lawsuit arrived 3 days later, desperate and theatrical. Their new interim CTO approved a lengthy complaint spanning 47 pages. They accused me of breaching proprietary agreements and deliberately damaging systems. They even attempted to portray me as a rebellious developer who forced junior employees to leak trade secrets, as if I had hypnotized half their workforce with some kind of girl boss mind control magic. Artemis's legal team tore their claims apart like a fragile Jenga tower set on unstable ground. In their initial response, they clarified that Defendant Davis was never bound by any intellectual property transfer contract since the patent was created before all existing employment clauses. Check your own HR documents. Their second response stated that if they intended to continue, we would need full access to code audit logs, version control history, and all internal communications concerning the patent discovery, a massive investigation. Please confirm whether you want to move forward. Spoiler alert, they did not. By Friday, the lawsuit quietly vanished without fanfare, press statements, or public announcements. The only trace was a subtle change on their website footer. One line removed from powered by our proprietary load balancer technology to simply built for scale. Cowards. But what followed was more satisfying than revenge. It was rewriting the future. Artemis went all in. We launched properly this time. A clean build, scalable, secure, and faster than anything else out there. My name was on the patent, on the product, on the homepage. Surprisingly, most people wanted to work for me. Not merely tolerate me, not speak over me, not fake smiles while stealing my ideas. They wanted genuine collaboration, asking questions, giving credit. One evening, 2 interns came to me quietly. After a long dash, one of them said, "We read what happened with the old company, the blog post and the leak." I tensed up, thinking it would be some apology for immature male behavior. But the other replied, "You are the reason we applied here. You showed them they cannot just take from us." I did not cry then, but later in the darkness, I stared at that old HP DeskJet laptop I had used to rebuild everything, battered and covered in tea stains and scratch stickers. I thought that machine had started the fire, but when I struck the match, the world finally noticed. One last thing troubled me because I had not heard the CTO's voice in weeks, not since the envelope, not since the tense glass door stare. Until a week later, when an email appeared in my inbox with no subject, no greeting, just one sentence. "You really think this is over?" I looked at it and smiled. Not yet. He had made one final move. Men like him never vanish. They transform into consultants, advisors, strategic visionaries. It turned out he had been quietly advising a mid-level venture capital firm eager to challenge Artemis's rise. They hastily assembled a Frankenstein competitor overnight, with a clumsy user interface, a stripped-down back end, and a suspiciously familiar design. Too familiar. Their press release boasted about next-generation load distribution, claiming it was built from scratch, and even quoted him. Finally, a product that does not depend on stolen foundations. Oh, they wanted war again. Fine. This time, I did not need any backdoors. During the leak of internal memos, I realized I had the upper hand while their team struggled through demos that often froze mid-click. Artemis launched Edgream, our new platform powered by version 3.0, a beast that overwhelmed benchmarks effortlessly and produced graphs shaped defiantly. We granted early access to their clients. Every single one was onboarded. By the end of the first month, 8 out of 12 contracts had quietly shifted to us. Within the quarter, their venture capital funding was withdrawn. Apparently, strategic visionaries cannot thrive when lacking both strategy and foresight. I finally encountered him once more at a tech gala. Open bar, bright lights, cameras everywhere. He approached me, drink in hand, with that brittle grin he wore like outdated cologne. "Maya," he said, as if we were old acquaintances, "you win." I tilted my head, signaling this was no game. He glanced around, noticing the Artemis logo dominating banners, lanyards, and the stage. "I made a mistake," he muttered. "Back then, I should have taken you seriously." I took a sip of my drink and replied, "You didn't make a mistake." He frowned. "You made a decision, and so did I." He had no comeback for that. Someone behind me broke the silence. One of our new engineers, a recent graduate observing our conversation with wide eyes, loudly said, "Hey Maya, is that the guy who mocked your raise request?" A few heads turned towards the former CTO. He winced and quietly walked away alone. I did not follow. I had a keynote to deliver. 10 minutes later, I stood before 2,000 people and spoke. The story is neither about revenge nor about triumph, but about reclaiming what rightfully belongs to you and witnessing the world rush to follow your lead afterward. Someone once asked me what advice I would offer to women in technology who feel overlooked. I smiled and replied, secure the pattern and then ignite the spark.